Does this always happen at the same company? Are they already used to it? He found that there were footprints of bare feet, very small ones, because there are entities or presences that are children or young people, right? I saw a black figure appear behind me when I turned my head.
This story is really going to surprise you because we're going to find out what happens inside an important factory in the western area of Buenos Aires. But not only that, in this place, even though it sounds unbelievable, they have certain protocols to follow when different paranormal situations occur. This suggests that not only do they see it as something normal, but they've also somehow learned to live with all these energies. Although maybe the creepiest thing is the answer to why. Why does all this manifest? And you're going to find out today. So stay until the end and please tell me what you think about this incredible case. This is the WhatsApp number to send me your audio experiences. Add photos, videos, or anything else you feel makes your story complete. Then I'll review all the material, and if I have any questions, I'll write to you. Please, I ask everyone to be patient. There are so many stories coming in every day. Some audio messages are short, others are extremely long. I'm not complaining about that. Long ones are better, of course, but it's really impossible to listen to all of them on time, so please have a little patience. And of course, I thank you for sharing each experience with the channel. Before we begin, I want to thank all the new members. There are so many of us now. Very happy, thank you so much. If you want to do it, there's a little button down here that says join, and you just have to follow the steps. If you can't, don't worry about it at all. Just by watching the video and leaving a like, you're already giving me a huge help. So thank you all very, very much. Friends, now we're starting this new paranormal video. Welcome. About a year ago, I started working at an important factory located in Buenos Aires in the western area. It's one of two branches they have. I want to leave out both my name and the company's name because I wouldn't want to have problems for telling this while working at this place. Although, and this is very important, a large part of all the paranormal events that happen here are already in some way normalized. To see how true that is, you need to know this. Shortly after starting to work here, all of us who had recently joined had a meeting. And there, among many other things, they explained to us certain protocols for dealing with paranormal situations that had been happening for a very long time. That is to say, it was practically part of the job to live with these things that defied logic.
For example, things like the back area where the cloths and other things are. After 7:30 or 8 at night, always go in pairs or groups, never alone. I was doing that wrong because as a newcomer, you want to do things right. And me, even though no one told me to, I would go out on rounds checking the machines, different things like that. They seemed surprised and said, well, no, just go over there alone. And I didn't get it at first, but after their talk, I understood. I'm going to tell you a bit about what happened to me, and why these things might happen.
One of the first things that happened to me was with a friend. We're from the maintenance department, and we had to clean some parts in a specific machine to prevent it from malfunctioning. A practically routine task among so many others. We worked outdoors, removing these parts and cleaning them one by one, and once everything was finished, they went back to their place. The thing was that, just like that, and from being totally calm, I started to feel a bit unwell. It was a horrible feeling that I didn't know until that moment, but my co-worker was feeling exactly the same, and a few minutes later we kept on working. Then something else happened. We started to hear whistling, and I say it in plural because it sounded like there was more than one. At one point, we thought it was a co-worker playing a prank on us, even though there was no one in sight. That seemed the most likely, but apparently we were wrong. We kept working, and my co-worker was the one who suddenly jumped to the side. Because this whistling sound, which kept changing places the whole time, positioned itself right behind his back, very close to his neck. But I insist it was just the two of us. We looked at each other, and I suggested we finish quickly and go inside. And something important that they mentioned to us many times in the talks I told you about was that in these cases, the best thing to do was to try not to give importance to what was happening. To be as indifferent as possible, beyond the fear of course, and to leave the place. We did that, then a few minutes later, gathered everything, cleaned up and moved to the other area where the atmosphere calmed down. And we didn't hear any more whistling. It's important to note that during the time we were setting everything up again on the machine, we confirmed that there was no one in the area where we had been working outdoors. It was empty, or rather, the only two employees there were the two of us. Therefore, those whistles were something that, even though we couldn't see them, we felt and heard them. A young man went through a terrible case some time ago. He was working with his co-workers on the first floor, an area where a lot of things happen. One of these young men, while he was alone cleaning one of the rooms, he was from maintenance. Does he hear a noise behind him? Along with this, a coldness practically embraced him, wrapped around him. He turned around, and in front of him was a little girl, about 7 years old, just standing there looking at him, completely still. He got so scared that he dropped everything he was doing, ran down the stairs to the ground floor, and went to the doorman to say he wanted to leave. Of course, they asked him what had happened, and he told them what you just heard. He was probably already going through different situations that ended up overwhelming his nerves and far exceeded the fear he could handle. The thing is, he left and the next day he quit.
Up there is where the bathroom I wanted to go to is, and in fact I did go, but what happened to me is that they started, it's like a T. You go up a hallway, and to one side you have the bathrooms, and on each side of the hallway you have different office doors. While I was in the bathroom, they were shaking the office doors, not the bathroom door. Like trying to open it from inside. When a door is locked, you push and shake it, just like that. I ignored it, thinking my co-workers were joking, but when I left the bathroom, no one was there. I went downstairs and left. I told my co-workers, and they were more scared than me, since no one had gone upstairs. And the worst part is that they were exactly at the same level, but on the floor below, and they didn't hear anything at all. So that kind of alerted them, let's say. It makes...
A few weeks ago, something incredible happened while I was in the production area. It was the weekend, and there were a series of tasks scheduled to be finished before Monday, when the plant would start up again. At first, I was with a coworker who was helping me, but I ended up staying alone. My coworker went to the break area since we were about to finish the shift. Since there were practically only a few details left, just cleaning a few pieces, I decided to stay alone and finish the job, so we wouldn't have anything pending for the next day. And, I repeat, I was completely alone in a place where if someone comes in or goes out, you definitely see them. About 15 or 20 minutes passed. I was finishing with a piece, and when I turned around to put it in the machine, again I found myself face to face with a completely black figure, a little taller than me, and that seemed, at least by its shape, to be a person. When I saw it, it didn't disappear, but it quickly moved to the side, ending up behind me. I tried to follow it, and even turned around to see where it was, but behind me, believe it or not, there was no one there. I was still alone. Or maybe peace, not so much.
But I want to make this clear. You can sometimes be deceived by what you see, shadows or outside influences, leading you to perceive things differently. I want to be clear. I was in a great moment, singing and happy because I was about to finish the job. Fine, absolutely nothing strange. And what I saw wasn't a shadow, what I saw was a black figure standing behind. Mine disappeared when I turned my head, and that's exactly how I explained it to my coworkers.
Right then, I just went to the break area and told two of my coworkers without any embarrassment. Because the good thing about all this, maybe, unlike other places, is that here it's so normalized that no one is going to think you're crazy. Everyone, in one way or another, has gone through moments that can't be explained. On another occasion, there were 5 people working in the back area. If you remember, that's exactly where they wouldn't let you go alone. We always had to be accompanied. One of the guys said he was going to the storage area to get a part to change the bearings because it had been left there and he hadn't brought it. Let's remember that these tasks were scheduled and normally done on weekends when there were no employees working on the machines. Therefore, the only people there were maintenance staff, supervisors, and maybe a manager or two, of course. This guy went out, walked around the back to the production area, and when he got there, he ran into an employee. He didn't know who he was, but he talked to him, greeted him, shook his hand, and explained that he was there to pick up a part from a specific machine because it was being serviced. Then something curious happened. This man told him it wasn't necessary because Ruben, one of the 5 maintenance workers, had already picked it up and taken it to the workshop. This seemed strange to him because the other way to the production area was longer, but there was no reason to be suspicious, so he went back. And when does he arrive? It was a very confusing moment because Ruben had never gone to production. However, this other person said otherwise. And everyone knew perfectly well that Ruben hadn't moved. And there shouldn't have been any other employee in production, so things got even stranger. They thought it was likely someone playing a prank. They went to the area, but there was no one there, so the only thing left was to check the cameras.
What they did was check the security cameras, and that's when everyone was stunned. Because you can see him walking about halfway down the hallway, and he stops someone, even shakes their hand, greets them, and points to the machine. You can see all the gestures as he was explaining what he was going to do and how he says, okay, okay, and turns back. I mean, the conversation was completely real. In fact, he even shook his hand and everything. But when you see the cameras, he gestures in the air talking to, well, that person still works at the plant today, but they reached an agreement that he doesn't leave his work area. He doesn't walk around the plant. Now, what I can tell you about this plant is that it's located where the military district used to be. And this is the part that gets a little murkier. The part we're not allowed to go to at night is the back entrance. Entrance to the A, the tunnels below. To what used to be the underground parking lots, which are now all sealed off and turned into a water reserve cistern. It was an entrance from the back, and what people say is that it was a clandestine detention center, which today, I insist, is all sealed off. That entrance is sealed off. The walls were knocked down and everything unified underneath. And it's a water cistern with thousands and thousands of liters, but there was a parking lot. But anyway, the truth is that's what it is. They say it was a clandestine detention center. That's why it was a basement, and that's why it had an entrance in the back through a sort of dead-end street, let's say.
Another experience was during the week. We would go in at 6 in the evening, take night shifts, and something terrible happened. That weekend, they painted the hallway to the bathrooms in the production area. As you'll see, it's a busy place. Epoxy paint had been used, green in color, the kind that's usually used in areas with very heavy traffic. The entrances had been closed since a lot of drying time was needed, and it was only our shift that opened this door. Before us, no one had gone in there, and what we found chilled us to the bone. And what's more, I'll show you the photos so you can see them with your own eyes. We saw many footprints crossing this place from side to side, although with a particular detail. They began and ended where there were no doors or windows, just a wall. These footprints were small, as you can see in the photos, and somehow give the impression that they belonged to a child or at least someone very young. Even after looking more closely, we realized that the footprints didn't belong to just one person, but to two.
But anyway, those are some of the things I can tell you, because later the security people also have a lot of things that have happened to them, and what they have is they must document everything that happens to them. Well, among those things is being in the back, stocking products, and having the lights turned off on them. They went to the circuit breaker upstairs, but realized they had already turned it off using the nearby switch. Things like that happen to them all the time. Or feeling like someone is calling them or whistling at them from dark hallways where there's no one there. Things like that. And that's it. That kind of activity. But anyway, the crazy thing is that it happens so often that the company has already totally accepted it. But the truth is that it's really strange. It's really strange if you start connecting it to the story that the back part used to be a secret detention center. It also wouldn't make sense why there are entities or presences that are children or young people. Yes, I'm telling you this based on what people have said they've seen. And about the footsteps, we found those footprints ourselves. It's not a photo someone sent me, they're my own photos. The truth is it's something very, very strange and very sad. If you think about it, exactly, maybe those entities stayed there and who knows if they'll be there forever. Honestly, it just makes you really sad.
Thank you for reading to the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. I'd like to know what you think about everything that happened. Thanks also to everyone who shared their zodiac sign in the community post for the already recorded interview. You'll have to wait to learn which 3 zodiac signs were chosen most. I'm referring to the interview since many commented afterward, but I had already recorded it. Thank you very much. And keep in mind that it will come out next Monday. I don't know if in the afternoon or at 10 at night. But next Monday, a new interview will be coming out on the channel, and I hope you don't miss it because it was really, really good. Friends, I'm signing off. See you in a few days and sending a big hug to all. Bye.